All right, what's up? Episode 56, the Duole podcast. I am Stuart Anderson, and this episode has guests Todd Raker, Jake Cook. We interview Todd all about his involvement with with the team, his receiving the yellow jersey, his 8-hour and 53-minute 2021 Lotija time. What a beast. We get to talk to Todd, ask him all sorts of questions about how he got into biking, how he balances his work and his family, and we talk a little bit about Lotija. So a few of his great races there. So big thanks to Todd and Jake for spending the time to be on. At the outset of the program, I am going to reiterate a few things that we talk about. One, www.cyclingupgrades.com, Corby, has agreed to sponsor 10 entries to the East Canyon Road Race. And the team will also follow up with 5 entries to the East Canyon Road Race happening on August 6th. These are paid-for entries for members of the Duole team, 2022 current members of the team. And so there's some details at the beginning of the podcast about how you can either get reimbursed or how you can have your race paid for by cyclingupgrades.com or from the team. So huge thanks to Corby. He also did a big giveaway last episode. So he's coming in hot with some really fun ideas on how to make the team better. So thanks, Corby. Grateful for that. Not much else. Kit order is open as a final reminder. If you listen to this before it closes, that is happening. It's closing up here in the next couple of days. It's the last one of the year. So get your orders in with Duole on the team hub to get your spandex before Lotija. So that is it. Enjoy the episode, and big thanks to Todd and Jake, and enjoy. Bye. Welcome, episode 56. What's up, me Duole listeners? I'm with my 2 very good friends, Jake Cook.
Yo.
Todd Raker.
How's it going?
If you're watching us live, it is June 29th, 2022. Beautiful day outside today. Although rain, that was kind of weird. Some thunderstorm.
Well, that was weird. Can you believe we're episode 56 of this podcast, Stu? I mean, you've done 56 of these things, man. Here we are.
That's a minimum of at least 56 hours of my life down the toilet. Just
it's a lot of work.
Dude, it's cool. I mean, we've been doing these since December of 2020. Is that right?
Yeah.
January. Yeah. So fun. These are my favorite episodes where we meet team members and kind of share everybody's story, which is what we'll do today with brother Todd. Before we get on with that, though, current training status. Todd, where are you right now?
I can ride a unicycle or my mountain bike because my chain rings are being warranted. So
this is the second time, right, Todd?
Yes. I need to talk to a SRAM engineer and see what I'm doing wrong. I think we've got to the bottom of it, but
well, you're gonna go to Durace now, though, right? If this doesn't work out, you're gonna go Durace.
I'm tempted for that 12-speed. I've asked the shop about that, so we'll see.
Jake, we got Crusher.
Yeah.
Crusher, yeah. I was looking at my Training Peaks today, and it says 11 days out from Crusher. So we're getting close. So I'm super stoked. Should be really exciting, man.
I'm excited too. Yeah, it should be fun. Very good. Super fun offer. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, last episode with Corby, we did a little giveaway through Cycling Upgrades. And Corby approached me this morning and said he wants to do something new for the team, something different, where he helps promote team members to join a race, some sort of event. So here's the details. Register for East Canyon Road Race. Pay for it yourself. It's on August 6th. It's $45. Then send a screen capture of your race registration to me, 801-599-4239. And I will forward that to Corby. And Corby and Cycling Upgrades will pay the entirety of your race fee to race East Canyon. So cyclingupgrades.com will pay for the first 10 guys who register for East Canyon Road Race. And then the Duole team will pay for the next 5. So the first 15 on the team who register and get us their registration screen capture, we will comp the race.
Nice. Shout out.
Dude, Corb, such a
Yeah.
cool idea. It's kind of our home turf where that race course is. So it'll be fun to show up and race together. That's a great idea.
How many usually participate? I was looking on just this afternoon who's registered. I didn't see anyone from our group yet.
Yeah, only Andy Welch is registered. Usually East Canyon's in April, so they had to bump it because of I think it snowed.
Yeah, I think it was snowing. The weather was bad.
Yeah, I think it snowed, so they bumped it to August 6th.
It only gives a couple more months of people to prime their legs, man. This is going to be a massive road race, I think. It's going to be a good race.
So fun. It's the greatest. Such a fun course. Echo Canyon. I love it. It's one of my favorites. So I've done it many times. I've lost many times. Yeah, really fun to lose this race. Really good time. So anyway, do it. I'll put the details in the show notes, and that's it. Okay. Anything? Oh, kit store. If you didn't know it, it's open. Last kit order of the year. I believe it closes July 5th. July.
This is the quickest delivery too, by the way, quickest turnaround.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, a lot of
you guys want your kits quick. This is it.
This is it for the white kit. It'll go away back into the Disney vault next year, and you won't be able to
say that one more time, Stu. There's no what?
No, I don't know.
No white kits until a couple years, right?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be just the same as red kit last year.
Yep.
Just kind of disappears.
Every other year. Yep.
Yeah. Any gear you guys have bought that you're like, oh, you got to have it? Anything new?
Long sleeve velocity. I'm gonna buy more of that this time. It seems like, and you made this comment like a year ago or 2 years ago. It's kind of laughing at Chip because all he wears is thermal. I'm getting the same way. I think it's just the weather's been so cold, but I have one white velocity. It's like my favorite go-to. I have a gold one now just with the last order. So I have 2 now. But it's the mornings above 40 degrees in any of the canyons or wherever we ride are pretty slim. So
right, dude. I agree.
I think I'm good on thermals, but definitely the velocity long sleeve. Well, actually, is it the pro long sleeve now?
Yeah, pro long sleeve. If you're talking about the thermal. Yeah.
Well, they don't offer the pro long sleeve anymore.
Yeah.
Thermal, so it's the velocity, which
velocity
I actually really like it. So that would be my go-to.
Yeah.
I'd say the new velocity bibs. I didn't order them the first time around, but I got them the second time, and they are fantastic.
They really are.
So I'd say that's my top favorite. I would say the next huge upgrade on kit was obviously I get the thermals every year, but the new thermal they just rolled out this last year with the side panel that's a little different. I mean, it just fits a whole heck of a lot better. So I would say I recommend that, especially, Todd talking about the cold. So velocity bibs for me, and then the new thermal top is fantastic. So
dude, those velocity bibs look so good. And then I feel like they're tighter around my stomach, and then the straps. They're just amazing.
And I would go with the all black ones, meaning in this white order. Because then they flow with every kit, if that makes sense. I mean, if you just get the black ones with the gray on the bottoms, I mean, you can only wear those with certain colors. But if you get the black ones, you can wear them with anything else. So
nice.
How do you like them compared to the Black Label, which were the almighty when we first got them? They trump them, you say?
I think so. I think they're a step above. It'll be interesting to see how they hold up, like in the wash and whatever. But we moved to the kit design because of Black Label. But I think these velocities, they beat them, especially even if you're just comparing the straps.
Yep.
They're so nice. Yeah.
Laser cut, a little more low profile, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You just got to pay $270. Just kidding. They're not that much, but they are expensive, dude.
They're like $135. So
yeah.
More expensive. Worth it though.
We're going to get to Todd's bio, but first, Todd just had a baby. Todd, how's that sleep schedule? Yeah. Baby Huey.
A little Hugh. He's Huey, we call him.
Huey.
Let's see. He slept for 6 hours. I woke up at
what?
Yeah, you wake up like at 6 and you're like, wait, I haven't heard him all night. And you jump over to make sure he's okay. So
Dude, he's not even a week old.
yeah,
Oh
no,
my God.
he did like a 6 hour stint last night, so that was
Oh,
good.
nice, dude.
He's good. Maybe I'll buzz Alicia. Maybe he can make an entrance and
Nice.
we'll
Hey,
show him
well,
off. Good.
first part of this little podcast, meet Todd. He's got a lot of information here that he's going to talk about his early childhood, how he arrived in cycling, um, what he does for work. So we'll get to that. But I asked his wife, Alicia, to write a short bio on him, which she gracefully did, like in the middle of childbirth. I don't know how she pulled this off. I actually felt bad even asking. So
Right.
I'll read it, and then we can, Todd, you can chime in anywhere you want. Okay.
Yeah.
It's from his wife. When describing Todd to someone who doesn't know him, modern Renaissance man is the best way I can sum him up. One of my favorite things about him is his endless curiosity for all things and people. He can and does find the good and interesting in the people he meets and befriends, and can talk shop with anyone and everyone, whether they're a plumber, CEO, fashion designer, or chef. He loves to know how things work and how to optimize any experience or process. Dude, very true.
So
Great,
true.
great first paragraph. Todd's not blushing. I often tease Todd and tell him he reminds me of the mouse from the popular children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. I don't know this one. Todd began his biking journey about 4 years ago, shortly after our first child was born. He'll talk about that. As I suspected, he was true to his mouse characteristics in his new world of cycling. If you give a Todd a bike, he's going to need gear, nutrition, wheels, bike tools, trainer, race events, entries, etc., etc. The bike was the small catalyst into a new world, and he's passionate about every new page he encounters. So true. Dude, not just passionate, just like all in, which I
All
love.
in, dude.
All in. In the last few years, Todd has thrown himself all in into cycling and become part of an amazing community with lifelong friends, which I will give us a short, as an adult male man, if you would have said to me like, hey, when you're 40, you're going to make some of your best friends, I would not have believed you. That's just kind of like one of those things where you're like, well, no, I've got my high school friends, and like those are my guys. But this team, like this group, that is one of my most favorite things. And Todd, I include you in that group, which is like, it is so fun to just make new lifelong friends.
Amen.
Okay. I watched him as he committed 5 to 6 days a week, early morning rides, constantly challenging himself to more miles, higher elevations each week. I watched his body transform and his focus grow into bettering himself physically, mentally, and more. We've discovered the crazy world of Lodija, and it's been thrilling to celebrate his hard work and successes through this grueling all-day race for the last couple years. A few months into riding, he found his people, and he's loved riding with me, Duole, ever since. It's been inspiring, to say the least, to see him excel and grow with this group of cyclists that challenge and support each other every day. With the huge time and energy commitment Todd's invested into cycling, I can honestly say it's made him a better person in all aspects of life. He's healthier, present, healthier, by the way. I wish we could flash up some pictures of Todd pre-cycling.
I can find some. Do you want me
Okay.
to
We could edit them into the video. Energized and completely engaged with his family, friends, and career. We welcomed our third baby last week, and needless to say, he's had long, sleepless nights and still makes time and puts time and effort into the early mornings in the saddle. I can't think of a better way his cycling story could have landed, and can't wait to see where it leads from here. That is a wonderful wife. Very good, Alicia. Any comments there, Todd?
No, it's says it all. No,
Says it all.
Yeah, appreciate that. So.
Jake, any thoughts there?
You know, Stu, when you sent this to me yesterday and just reading through it, this hit hard for me, man. This was really, really special to, don't get emotional about it, but just, it's really cool to see this side of Todd. And I mean, I like just echo what you said, Stu. Todd is one of those people you want in your circle and want at your table. And I'm just glad he's at mine, and I'm grateful that I'm able to sit at his and have a lifelong friend like this, especially, I mean, given my age and this group of friends, Todd's one of those special people. So, this hit hard for me for sure. So it was cool.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah, no,
Jake.
I share that sentiment. You made that comment to me, Stu, about 6 months ago about, friendships and, if you would have told me you're gonna meet some guys,
Mhm.
crystal ball in a few years, it doesn't happen. I think about that a lot. Okay, do other hobbies bring these types of friendships? I mean, golf.
Bowling?
I
Like
mean,
bowling?
maybe, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Even on the golf course, I mean, on the golf course, you get your buddies you go golfing with every week, but those are usually the guys you already know. It's not like you get paired up with someone at a golf tournament and now, hey, let's go hang out five
CrossFit.
5 days a week at 5 in the morning, right? It
Yeah.
just doesn't happen. CrossFit, even running, what is it about cycling? I've tried to rack my brain and figure that out. I haven't quite
It's the
figured it out yet.
it's the tight spandex, the way I get to look at you guys.
Yeah.
Todd, what do you do for work? I don't even know if I could explain what you do for work.
Yeah, I am analytics director at Health Catalyst. You guys probably remember Health Catalyst, the early days when I'd show up with my green helmet, blue shoes, and Health Catalyst kit. We are a data warehousing and analytics company, specifically in the healthcare space. We work with big hospital systems, both big and small, to improve patient outcomes through data,
Nice.
essentially.
All right. And then last week there was Grodio, and you had all sorts of comments about the location. That's kind of where you grew up. Maybe talk about
Yeah.
background, where you grew up. Yeah.
Yeah, grew up in East Layton, just off Highway 89, about a stone's throw away from Weber Canyon. If you're unfamiliar with the area, live the iconic childhood of rope swings. There's a pond up there, Hobbs Pond, and that was like every day. We were rope swings, and these weren't just rope swings, 5 feet off the ground. These were climbing up a tree 30 feet, jumping out, and you were dropping easily 40, 50 feet. Like, these are huge cottonwood trees. The cops would always come down, chop down the trees. Now it's like open to everyone. It's like they've evolved this pond that we used to like have to sneak from the cops up through everyone's backyard because we'd see them come down and everyone would scatter. Now it's like an open, paddle boarding, and they don't care anymore. But anyway, that's like what my childhood was BMX ramps. We were the south scavenging wood from all the construction sites to build BMX ramps, which they were inclined, to say the least, but we didn't really have the geometry right, but somehow we still had fun with them. I think, Jake, you had the Specialized Fat Boy, right? That was my pride and joy.
Yep.
I had a paper route. I bought a Specialized Fat Boy from a neighbor. I bought it used. I think I spent $200 on it.
Did you have pegs on it?
Oh yeah, pegs, of
Pegs.
course.
Shocks.
Your pegs, you'd hit a jump, your fit would slip off, so you're already getting hurt. But then it was the reverb from the shock hitting the back of your heel, and you're like, "What am I doing with these?" So I'm sure you've all been there. Yeah, so I've been on bikes, my whole life. It was come home, and if I wasn't delivering papers on a bike, it was hop on the bike and be gone until dark, right? Again, building jumps, finding an empty vacant lot, and building our own little bike parks.
Nice.
It was a childhood I wish everyone could experience, for sure. So
Well, and if I remember correctly, you have multiple stories of Todd, the troublemaker, just absolutely in so much trouble all the time.
oh yeah, we were,
Oh yeah.
if kids, I compared to what kids are doing now, this was just the usual. This is just the usual stuff, we won't go into detail because I don't want to be held liable. But
Health Catalyst is calling.
yeah, just I wish I saw kids running around the neighborhood at night causing mischief like we used to do. You just don't see it anymore. But never anything Never vandalized. We'll say that.
Very good.
I can
Okay.
proudly say I've
Okay.
never caused property damage or vandalism. Sure, pissed off a few neighbors, and we show up to my parents, neighborhood or ward for church, and I remember that time, so people are still happy to see us, but we had fun.
So, I mean, you grew up kind of riding BMXs, but how'd you arrive at? I mean, because your road cycling journey is not kind of like just Clappier's, dude. It's not long. I mean, how long? How did you get into this?
Yeah, so I again, mountain biked a little bit. This was, mainly like it wasn't even a soft tail. It was a rigid, didn't even have shocks on it. It would be a Schwinn. I can't remember what it is. My parents still have it. It had bar ends though. But we used to take that on what is now Bonneville Shoreline up in Fernwood, directly above,
Mm-hmm.
Highway 89, kind of rip on those trails a little bit, or always go to the dog pound. And again, BMX. But back in 2011, a friend showed up, a good friend of mine. He's actually who I just sold my Group A to today. He showed up on a Trek Fuel EX9 and he spent like $1,500 on it. And I'm like, I can't believe you just spent that much money on a bike. He's like, dude, you got to try this out. It is so fun. This was in the Avenues. He'd just done bobsled, I think. And I'm like, I was in school. Alicia and I've been married a couple of years. I'm like, okay, let me see what I can do. I, scrounged together some money and I picked up an EX5, full suspension, hydraulic disc brakes. It was like $1,200. And I thought it was just like the best bike in the world. And it was, going from, your first bike, it was an awesome bike. And so that was kind of the first taste, like, okay, this mountain biking is awesome. This is a lot of fun, So I rode Dry Creek, bobsled, about every day, living on 11th Ave. And it was that convenience that really drew me to it. And so then when we moved to Holiday, it was like, well, actually, take a step back. I was going to actually get a road bike. I was going to jump into that. This is about 2014. And instead, I upgraded my fuel. I got an Enduro. And that was kind of like the holy grail bike.
You didn't get a Kona Stinky?
No, that's Chaw. I think Chaw bought the last one of those. So
we're in KSL surfing like Chaw does. Come on.
Yeah, that was like the bike. I'd go into buy. I made pretty good friends with Wasatch Touring, and started doing some trade work back in the days of when I was doing graphic design and doing all their decals and stuff. And so I had my eye on a road bike, but I ended up upgrading to this Enduro, which again, it was like the bike you're always dreaming of, and now you have it. It's I hope everyone can experience that thrill. It doesn't. And again, this wasn't like a $10,000 bike. It was an upgrade to what I had, which we'll get to that.
Nice.
And again, moved to Holiday, and it was that, okay, I want to go ride the trails. I don't want to load up my bike. I'm like, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger on a road bike. There was guys in my neighborhood, and we'd always be talking shop. Justin Wilson, actually. I used to work at Nordstrom when I was going to school. This is about 10, 12 years ago. And he would come in and we'd always talk loaded. We'd always talk shop. I never had a road bike, but I was always drawn to that, road cycling in general. And again, okay, someday, I'll get into it. And so I think what it really was is, okay, moving to Holiday, ease of access, you see so many people on bikes around here, and I hate loading up my bike and driving somewhere again, right? It's an hour out of your day that you could be doing something else. And so that was it. Yeah, it was right after Scout was born. It was April of 2018. Actually, I found the infamous picture right here. Here it is.
I have enabled screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to share my screen then.
Oh, yes. Look at this. This is a first 56 episodes. Oh, baby.
This is it. This is my brand new bike. I was like, all right, Alicia, you got to take a picture. Green helmet. I found.
Look at that helmet. Look at the ankle socks too. So Todd is notorious for the ankle socks, guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna zoom in. These shoes.
It
was like, okay, I don't want black. I don't want I wanted color. Like I wanted bright. Like I wanted something different. I found these at Bicycle Center, and they're like
That's
100.
5 pounds of leg hair right there. If you're
Oh
looking.
yeah, they were. Yeah, I used to buzz my legs. I'm surprised I haven't for this picture. I've always buzzed them, but I was
Look at the
just getting over
girth,
the.
man. That girth on those legs is fantastic.
Yeah,
Todd, this is a good time to talk
it was
about
all
it then.
there.
So your
Yeah,
physical transformation. So talk about that for a bit.
yeah. So I was probably 240 pounds in this photo when I started, and honestly, that was one of the drivers. Like, I didn't have this big health scare. I didn't really like over the years. I just kind of, you know, I guess I lost sight of who I was. I don't know, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. But and we've all been there. And so I got the bike, and that was kind of the goal. Like, let's see how far I can take this. If you guys want to keep looking at me, I'll stop sharing. But uh, I was like, let's see where this can go. And that was kind of motivation. Like, um, I played football in high school. Like, I know how it feels to be physical, where you're physically fit, Um, so, the cycling journey in general, how I started was like, okay, I'm gonna get this bike. And kind of going back, I kind of mentioned this in my notes. One thing that was really appealing to me in road cycling versus dirt or anything else, it's, when we were kids, I could get on my bike and we would ride our bike down to Smith's or Albertsons, down in,
Mm-hmm.
down, I don't know, you call it like Central Layton, whatever it is, west of our house. I'd ride out pretty much towards I-15, right? Only like 4 or 5 miles, but as kids on bikes, like you're truly having a paper boy up a hill on a single speed BMX bike. And you were so tired, but it's like, we just rode our bike here, like 3-4 miles away. And now we got to go back home. But like that satisfaction of going so far on a bike.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, it's like, that's what gets me excited.
Nice.
With road cycling. It's like, in 3 hours, we're in Morgan. We're 5 hours, we are
Right.
in a car. Like, if you've done those drives in a car ever where we ride our bike, it's like, it seems forever on a car.
Mm-hmm.
Like I took Scout and Harvey to the zoo 2 days ago, and I drove up on Wasatch because there was traffic on Foothill. And I'm like, this road takes forever. Like on Wasatch, like hitting all the speed bumps, and like, it doesn't
You're
feel that
not
way.
blowing stop signs.
No, it was such a different experience on the bike.
Yeah.
So kind of starting out, I was like, I'm going to do the same holiday loop. So it was like 20 miles. If you go look at my early days of Strava, you'll see morning ride every day at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And it was just 15 miles. Like, I'm just going to loop that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about an hour, right? And every day, you start getting faster, And it very quickly, like within a month, it was like I could get on my mountain bike and I'd go to these climbs on my mountain bike that a month earlier I wanted to like puke. And it's like, okay, I can feel the fitness building so quickly. That's kind of what kept me going. And it's like, okay, I'm going to mix in Big Mountain. Or I'm going to mix in the top of Mill Creek, and you're like flying high because you just did 30 miles up to the top of Mill Creek, right? And so that's kind of how it started. And then that's what I tell people, like, you you don't need to spend a lot of money on a bike. You don't need to go conquer some mountain. Just find something. What you see on KSL is what you get, is what I tell a lot of people. It's a road bike. There's not many things on a road bike that can wear out, right? So you find a bike, find a route, and then over time, you can always upgrade, right? And that's kind of half the fun, right? I think we still have fun with that, right? Upgrading those even minuscule things at this point. I don't think there's much that we can upgrade on our bikes, but you get excited trying new tires. So
Jake,
Yep.
maybe you could talk about earliest memories of Todd.
Man, so it's my first interaction with Todd. Obviously, I think there were a few of them. The first vivid one that I remember was obviously the spring tour of 2019 with Todd. So I remember going down there with Andy Welch and used to there was a bunch of us down there for the tour, and we were super stoked. I think we were wearing our red kits, if I remember right.
You were in the red new kits. Yep.
We just rolled them out, so we were all stoked. And we remember seeing Todd, this random guy, kind of meet up with us and come talk to us, and during the ride, and at least from my perspective, at the finish line, hanging with him. But obviously, just to me, it seemed like a random guy wanted to know about Duole and how it rolls. And so I think obviously that kind of sparked something. But then after we came home from the spring tour, he would show up again, and it was this guy with the green helmet and the ankle socks and this green bike, and it was just like, you and I, you and I were always like, who is this cat? Like, always showing up. It was all
Andy Welch. It was Andy Welch.
Yeah, but it was just like always the talk of like you were just there every single time, whether it was a Mill Creek, an Emigration, a Big Mountain. Man, it was like every ride you were just there, the guy in the green helmet. And so that's where I just continue to remember you just would always show up, and then it hasn't stopped since, dude. So that's what I remember. But
I would add here for anyone listening that is like, well, okay, great. Sometimes I get requests that are like, hey, I want to ride with you guys, like see you out a lot, like that'd be fun. And I always just say the same thing. I just say, okay, cool, like Emmy Monday at 6, we'd love to meet you or whatever. Then they don't come, and then same message comes through from another guy. And one thing I would encourage anyone, and Todd's the perfect example of this, is like, hey, if you want to make friends, if you want to get good at this, there's really a great route to it. And that is just, you just jump in, you just go for it, and you make new friends, and you show up to stuff, and you get dropped, and then you get stronger. And then you're like, man, this is brutal. And then you show up to kit pickup early to help set up tables, and you ask and that's just how you assimilate yourself into a community. Yeah. When Todd got the yellow jersey this spring, a lot of it had to do with how engaged he is. Team rides, team swag, helping set up, you name it, when it's time for kit pickup, his involvement in everything. And so
he helped with camp. I mean, he did all the camp food.
Camp food with Viva that I didn't get any of that, so it was all gone by the time. Just kidding.
No, it wasn't. We had so
and Stu, and Stu, real quick, just to add to that, I mean, Todd, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I remember when you're first showing up, like, you weren't always the fastest. I mean, there were a lot of times, you were trying to get up to the speed, but I think the key to how you have been successful and this transformation that's taken place along with it is just, you've gotten stronger. You kept on showing up. You didn't, weren't butthurt. It was just kind of like, you kept on showing up and knew that the fitness would come as this transformation was taking place. And I think, to Stu's point in this team, like, just keep showing up. It will come.
Yeah.
The rewards will come. So
nice.
Yeah. I still vividly remember, like, we did Little Cottonwood 2 days ago, which was great.
Was it?
Thanks to Dave. But that was the first time we've done that since the early days. I mean, I remember I showed up to that, and it was so brutal. Like, that was one of those rides where, like, you want to puke. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure I got, I was left in the dust by Tanner Flats, and everyone was waiting for me at the top. And I remember telling you, Stuart, I said, sorry if I'm harsh and everyone's mellow, and you're like, well, don't worry about it. And you sent me a message after. You said, hey, don't worry about that. You said, look, you show up, you have fun, like, just keep, I wasn't like gonna quit or not show up anymore after that, but it went a long way. That's something I remember. And then the goal was always, I'm not going to get dropped on Big Cottonwood. I remember one day specifically, it was Doug Brower, Chaw, Dave Sharp.
Goo.
And I was like, just downright, it was a hard effort, just gripping my handlebars, you stick your pinkies out, I go in like this because I'm in so much pain. I don't want to get dropped. And I stuck with them the whole way. And it was like, okay, I've made it. I can quit biking and never have to go out again. But no, it was
You know,
setting those
everyone has
little
experienced that.
things. Yeah.
Everyone has experienced that big Cottonwood ride with Sharp. I mean, I just have to say it. I feel like every podcast we bring on, everyone's experienced that ride with Sharp and just getting crushed by him. You know, I don't know. It's just
Who's local legend of Big Conwood now, though? By the way,
it was me, but I'm gonna lose that since I haven't been out for a few days. No, I don't know. I was hitting it hard for a while. I love that canyon, but
all right, let's move in. Todd put some things here about his favorite rides, favorite memories. Should we talk about that? Or I mean, I have some questions about a few things that you know, I want to talk about his Loaded journey. I want to talk about, dude, your garage, how you do bikes. But maybe let's just do that, Todd.
yeah,
like
please.
if you're going out, what's some of your favorite stuff to do?
Yeah, you know, I love Morgan. I love Big Cottonwood, and the reason I like Big Cottonwood is it's and the reason I do ride it so much. I don't like riding on the surface streets unless it's at 5 in the morning. I'll do that, but especially now, I don't know what it is with drivers nowadays. I try to avoid cars whenever I can, and Big Cottonwood's one of those. Getting to the destination is so quick for me. It's just right there. It's 5 minutes, you know, from my house. And I just like being up in that canyon. It's just, I think we all have those rides where for whatever it is, I don't think it was for whatever it is, you had such a great experience once there. Now it'll always, you know, kind of live with you.
Nice.
But yeah, Morgan's great. I really enjoyed PC Loop. I think, you know, a couple weeks ago with Shaw and Chris when they went and did gravel, and I just did by myself. I went. Yeah. We forked at Jeremy, and I did by myself. It was like one of the most enjoyable PC Loops I've ever had. Again, BCC. A lot of these rides, and kind of what I did early on too, was I would ride by myself a lot, and I still do, and a lot of it for me, it was just getting out, riding somewhere far. I'm not with a group, so again, you kind of go at your own pace, and you can push yourself as much or little as you want. But I think that's kind of what I take into consideration too, on what's your favorite ride and where. It's like, well, I've never been up to Camas, so I'm going to ride my bike up there, right? Mm-hmm. There's been so many places that I've only seen because I've been on a bike, like Alta. I grew up snowboarding, so I never went to Alta. I didn't see Alta until I was 35 years old, and I live 5 minutes away from it, just because, again, I don't ski much anymore, and I snowboarded as a kid. I rode a few down. Like Big Mountain used to be this, like, so far, like kind of this kind of place you think of in your mind as being so far away, like, because we would use it to get to East Canyon if we didn't want to drive around, right? Kind of as a shortcut. Now Big Mountain just feels like a stone's throw away from our house.
Yeah.
Alpine Loop, Sundance. Again, I've never been up Sundance until I did it on a bike. And it's not like I've been a hermit. It's just, I don't know. I think we can all rattle off 5 places in Utah that are in our backyard that we've only seen because we've been on a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to name a few. So
nice. Hey, let's talk about okay, so Jake supported me for Loaded 2020. And dude, we sat at that finish line for 2 or 3 hours, because if you guys remember, they blocked off the starting times. They're like 10 minutes apart instead of like 4 minutes apart. And so the groups were spread out. So we were watching groups come in for, like, Jake, we were at that finish line for, I think I finished the day at like 1:30.
You did. And I know where you're going with this. This is the coolest thing. Yeah, go ahead.
So we're standing there, we're waiting for Kristen, and I'm like, oh, here comes a group. Groups comes rolling in, and here comes freaking Todd.
It's a sprint finish. Yeah.
Just crushing the sprint. And dude, you crossed first. So Todd crosses first, Cat 5 group. And I looked at Jake and I was like, Todd just won Loaded.
Yeah.
And we were just like, no, he didn't. And then, dude, you totally did.
I have the video. I'll watch, like, I just watched, you know, I'm very big on the 5 years ago or 2 years ago, you know, the timelines that show up in Google Photos. And that one shows up every September, or, you know, whatever it is, right? And it's, did he just win? Like, it's all your guys' voice. And I think Welch is there. And
yeah,
I have that video that you guys sent me. It's awesome.
So cool.
It was the coolest thing, man.
So maybe let's talk about that. The appeal of the day, What do you like about it? Training, anything you want to say about Lotaja?
Yeah. So I didn't do Lotaja in 2019, and that's when I first started riding with everyone. And it was, are you doing Lotaja? That was like the big year. I think there was probably 30 or 40 people from the group, not just the group, but like kind of the Salt Lake Valley group. There was so many people. I know, Janie did it, Welch did it, Andy Welch. And it was always, are you doing Lotaja? I'm like, no, sadly I'm not. I actually could have got a free entry from Wheels of Justice, but I was like, no, I'm not ready for it. I'll maybe in a few years, right? But then it was this group where it's like, I actually vividly remember talking to Welch. It's kind of some backstory. I saw you guys down in St. George at the spring tour. That's kind of where we met. And it wasn't until later on, like a week later, it was like, oh, that's Andy Welch, kind of a serendipitous moment. Like, I know him, like from years ago. I met him through some mutual friends. And then I'm down at my parents' house down there in Green Valley, and there was a truck parked at the end of the street, and it had a Duole sticker on the back. And I was like, oh, I just met, these were the guys I rode with 2 weeks ago. And he's leaving, and I flag him down, and I was like, hey, are you from Holiday or Salt Lake? Or, I saw your stickers. Like, oh yeah, I'm Andy Welch. And I'm like,
wait,
we rode together 2 weeks ago. He's like, oh, that was you. I'm like, yeah, so-and-so from up north. Turns out he's actually, we actually went wakeboarding back in high school together. And we started talking. I was like, oh, so do you guys race? Do you guys ride Lotaja? He's like, oh yeah, we race. I'm like, wait, you guys are actually like racing? Like, not just going out, putting on your helmet, let's pedal, give each other a high five at the end. I was like, you guys are actually racing. I was like, okay, this is big time, because for me, a ride was Salt Lake Grand Fonda, where you show up and sit and eat, stop at every feed zone and
Subways.
have a hot dog, yeah, right.
Meatball sub.
Yeah, so this is a real deal. So I knew you guys, Lotaja was like, that's what we work towards. That's what we do. And obviously that's, I know things change, or, preferences change. And for me though, it's at the end of the year, it's something to look forward to. And so I signed up. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to sign up. Let's go for it. And I remember specifically riding up Big Mountain with you, Stuart. And you're like, oh, you're doing Cat 5. You're going to absolutely crush it. Like, because in my mind, I'm like, look, I'm just going to go finish. Like, I just want to get across. I just want to ride 200 miles on my bike. That in and of itself is a feat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't say expectations were low. It was just, I just survive, right? And I tell a lot of people ask me about this now, like, well, what about Lotaja? Like, I'm terrified to jump. I'm like, look, just go out, just huck and pray, right? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? And you might surprise yourself, right? And so that's what I did. It was, okay, let's go for it. I don't think training was any different. A lot of people ask, well, how do you train for Lotaja? I was like, well, I go out and ride at 5 a.m. with some of my closest friends, like, yep. I don't have a coach. I don't do structure, which some people do, and that's great. To each their own. It's kind of, what are you getting out of cycling, right? Which we can get to in a minute. But it was like, just go out and ride and get in some of those longer rides. Which again, for me, those are some of the more enjoyable rides, or some of the better memory, just getting far away from my house and just having those times to kind of think to yourself, whether it's with a group or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with Lotaja, it was, I just want to survive this. And so, again, we started out, and, you take these bits and pieces from everyone's suggestion. Again, for Jake, it was, yeah, stay in the front of the group, but don't fall back too far, right? Because you're going to get dropped. Like, don't bring your matches on strawberry. It's all the tips and points, we've all heard and been there before. And don't go too early. Don't get dropped over salt. If you burn your match on salt, you have 100 miles to recover, right? So all these things are running through my head, and it's like, okay, I'm going to stay with the group. Okay, great. We make it over strawberry with the lead group. This is okay, great. And then you kind of start thinking, you kind of take one step at a time throughout the day. And in your back of your mind, like, just don't get a flat tire, right? So, or don't let your chain fall off, right? There's so many factors that go into it to have a good day. So, for 2020, it was, about 15 of us, 20 of us over Strawberry. We get to Montpelier, it was quick. And then it was going up Geneva. Mark made a break for it. And that's where it's like, okay, I'm going to chase him. And so Cody King, which he kind of similar spot to me. That was his like first year riding, and he's absolutely, if you guys know Cody King interview, just absolutely taking up the bull by the horns and kind of on another level now. But it was he and I and Welch, Ryan Welch and Mark, and I can't remember who else. There was maybe a few others, but kind of from then on out, it was the 5 or so of us up over Salt. And the marshal kept telling us, like, you guys are 5 minutes ahead, you guys are 10 minutes ahead, 15 minutes ahead, so now you're like on pure adrenaline, like, okay, you're, it kind of just feeds, right? It just keeps you going. Everyone's getting amped, okay, we're going to do this, a chance at a podium. And then, we get to about 5 miles before the finish, and it's like, then the discussion happens. I'm gonna talk about this because I think a lot of people find this hilarious. There's a discussion on who's gonna get first place.
Oh, okay.
And Cody and I are like, what are you talking about? By now it's just the 3 of us, and it's like, well, how are we gonna finish this? And Cody and I looked at each other. It's like, we're gonna sprint and race, So we kind of line up, and that's where it was just like gone, and it wasn't just like, I'm gonna go. It was, we kept pedaling like it was, like everyone does, that adrenaline or that excitement of, you see the 2 kilometers to go, 1 kilometer, right? You come around the bend and you see the flags, and it's just like, it's a surreal feeling, in and of itself, that you're going to finish. But then, if to be in a sprint like that is even more surreal.
My palms
Todd,
are sweating.
what was your final time on that year, 2020?
9. I don't know, 9:37 or 9:47. I can't remember. Like 9:30s, I think it was 9:37. Sounds right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it played out. And it was like, you get to the end and you're just physically exhausted. You're like, holy cow, we just did this. Everyone's high-fiving. And so yeah, that's that dead sprint. It was one of those, and you kind of envision it. I think we've all been there before. You kind of envision how you want Lotoja to be, or you kind of dream, or at least I do, or did. If you that sprint finish, what are you going to do if you're in that spot? And I specifically have watched Shane Kennedy's from TBD's video, like over and over, and not like study. It's just fun to watch. That sprint finish. There's a few of them on YouTube. Go find them. They're great. And she's like, okay, for one, I've never raced. I've never sprinted before either. So it's like, I don't know, like, just give it all and see how you do. So that's kind of how 2020 played out. And it was awesome.
Dude, so then claim to fame, Todd raced the fastest Duole time ever at Lotoja last year, 2021. It's like an 8:53. I don't know of anyone that's ever done faster. And you same thing, sprinted the line, took 4th by, feet apart. If you look at that finish video. But I mean, big kudos, Todd, for taking first, not staying in Cat 5, moving up to the next group, challenging yourself, not being that lifetimer in Cat 5. It's fun to see. You're like, hey, I'm going to challenge myself, be with better riders. That was really fun to watch.
He's like 40 minutes faster.
Dude, so it's crazy.
That's insane for year 2. I mean, that's insane.
It was fun. Yeah, I'm happy to go into that. And that was one of those, and it was, I actually saw Cannon on Monday, and we were talking about it a little bit, because he actually rides with all these guys from California. Kind of the same thing, like, you study up on who's in your groups. I'm like, okay, and we had some intel from Chris at TBD, like, okay, I've ridden with these guys before, like, watch out for them, or this is what happened, right? Remember, he sent us all that intel. And so it's like, okay, these are the guys I want to watch out for. These are the guys I want to stay with, whatever it is. And again, same thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to 4-5. it's not Cat 5, it's 4 or 5, it's different. So obviously I want to finish. And I think I said to myself, I'd love to do like 9:15. I'd love to shave off 30 minutes, right? Like 30 minutes would be awesome. And I was like, okay, I looked at my times and kind of like, okay, maybe here, and here, or whatever it is, right? And we obviously had the rain.
Oh,
Everyone went through that. Our rain was warm though. I don't know why. What happened to me? It
It's the
wasn't
bike,
like
Todd. It's the
no,
bike. Come on.
no, it was not. Whatever it was, that rain for us did. I hear about Dan Thanel like hypothermia. I'm like, we got lucky. We were all in short sleeve, and besides that, but anyway, so it was again, get over Salt River and just hold on, right? So that was my goal. And there was a big group, 15 of us or so up Salt, and it was like, if any of you guys have had those moments where you're just bottom of the barrel, you cannot give it anymore. That's how it was over Salt. But I knew, okay, I've done this race before. I know how I'm on the flats. I know my recovery. Just make it over the top without getting dropped.
mm-hmm.
And so it was just, again, you're gripping the bars, sticking your pinkies out to the side in pain. And so that's what I tell them, like, look, the worst thing that can happen is like, don't burn all your matches. I tell everyone, burn everything you have over Salt, because if not, then it's going to be a lonely 100 miles to the end. Like your chances are better to burn that and stick with the group over it. And it was just relentless after that. And we got to the bottom, and I think hats off to these guys. I think they all just wanted to ride fast too. There wasn't any gamesmanship. There wasn't this. Everyone in the group was just wanting to ride hard.
Nice.
And then we got going up Snake River from Alpine to Hoback. We were like, I gotta look. I got the 4 cups, so these guys were probably 4, 5, 6, whatever. We were in the top 10.
Wow.
We were within 30 seconds of taking the KOM up Alpine to Hoback.
That's brutal.
Right, and it was it was a good pace. It was just quick pulls. We just had a quick pace line. It wasn't they weren't long pulls at all. And then again, we get to the finish, and we're all kind of looking at each other, and we're looking at our computers, and we're like, we could do sub 9, right? So the last like 20 miles, it was just pure adrenaline again. Like, we're going to get sub 9. Like, no, I don't think anyone had ever been there in our group, right?
Right.
They have gotten that before. And so I think that's what fed that excitement, the potential to get that. For me, it was like, well, there's 8 people in the group or 10 of us. Well, my odds are pretty good to podium, right? Let's keep going and see what happens. And again, you get to the finish, or you get 1 mile left, 2 miles left. I reach down subtly to tighten my cleats, for a sprint, and people stop talking at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of just slowly line up side by side, and it's just who's going to go first. I went first. I mean, I'm like up in my hood, shows my experience in sprinting. Like, I wasn't even in my drops,
Mm-hmm.
and legs seized up, like could not go any harder. And at the end, it was just like pure exhaustion, and again, so fun,
Still
high
super
five
gratifying though. Yeah.
Oh, so gratifying, high fives around these guys, these guys in California, I'd love to ride with them again, and I don't think there was a single person, in that finish group. Like you said, it's a rare situation to have a group like that, just all working together and having fun. And I think that's really what made the day. So
nice. So dope.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Hey, let's kind of wrap up. Let's talk about some of your lessons. I know you've got some good stuff typed in here. But what, you've ridden now for quite a bit of the time, yellow jersey, which is really fun. We set you up, as a leader of the team. People look to you. What would you tell new cyclists about, you got a lot of experience with mechanics and with your bike. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it goes back to, a lot of people ask me, well, I want to get a road bike. I want to get into this. And I say, well, obviously pre-pandemic, you could find bikes a little easier, but, dive in, get a bike. You don't need the best, but that gives you something to work towards, right? When you can, sky's the limits on, what you can spend on bikes. But, I had upgraded my entire bike. The only thing that was different on it was my frame was the same on it, was my frame by August over the course of 6 months, because it was like, okay, I'm going to be doing this a lot. I'm going to, I want to enjoy this a lot. So, but yeah, there's great deals to be had on KSL or, Pink Bike, whatever it is. And what you see is what you get. And, you can find that good stuff, but just, again, find that route that's fun and just do it. It helps where we live because we can get access to the backcountry, I call it, or, off the surface roads pretty quick. Um, but just find some, start in the morning. Morning is key. If you're not going to ride in the morning, it's very hard in the afternoons and a lot of cars and it's hot, and there's something to be said about getting up and doing more before 7 a.m. than most people, haven't even woken up. But yeah, just,
Nice.
find that loop and keep doing it, and, sprinkle in big cottonwood, and then you're like, okay, I can keep doing this.
Sprinkle.
Sprinkle in one thing for me too that I add to. I love every time I climb big mountain, big cotton, whatever it is. Whenever I'm in like a hard effort, I always think back to those first times I ever did that ride. Again, I remember every time the first time I did big cottonwood, little cottonwood, immigration. Like I vividly remember those rides, and I think back to them, and I'm like, I was like wanting to puke at this point, right? And so it's good to keep those old memories, good or bad, right, in mind to see the progress, right? And that's and Strava, I think, is key for that too, to track all that. So
nice. How do you get the most out of cycling? What would you say to somebody?
Yeah, find a group. I think that's the biggest thing. I think we're very fortunate to have our group, but I think a lot of those mornings we want to push snooze. It's like, oh, they're waiting for me at the stop sign though. Like, I don't want to let them down. There's accountability, right? Find someone that you can be accountable to. Find that group you can be accountable to. Again, creating new routes. I love Route Builder on Strava. Obviously, I feel like I have a good idea where everything is now and where to go. But early on, it was kind of fun. Like, oh, I'm going to create this 40-mile, this 100-mile route, and go do it on a Saturday and see new things. And I think one of the big things for me is if you're not feeling it, don't feel like you have to, right? Don't put this pressure on yourself. That's one thing that I've had to do, and kind of like, look, I mean, right now I'm feeling it because my bike's out of commission for who knows how long. Hopefully it's not long, but in my mind, it's like, okay, you're going to take a week off. What's that really going to do to you? How is it going to affect you? Well, it's probably a good thing, right? Just to reset, and don't get burned out if you're doing it just for the miles. If you're doing it, what's your motivation, right? Is your motivation Tour de France? Well, if it is, good luck, but okay, yeah, you should be training like that. Or is it fitness? Is it just to be a overall, physical well-being, right? Figure out why you're doing it and stick to it. So.
Nice. I like that. Hey, Jake, maybe you could chime in here too. You guys are really young families. My kids are a little older, but we always kind of ask, how do you guys balance life, work, family? It's a demanding activity. Maybe Jake, you've had a baby, in the last year. Any thoughts there? And then we'll let Todd go.
Yeah. I mean, I think, having more kids, it's gets a little harder. Your weekends get more full and with sports and things like that. So I think, where I've kind of been able to get balanced out is just, make sure if I prioritize riding in the morning, meaning, so if I don't ride in the morning, I just know there's an expectation that I don't get to ride the rest of the day. So I try to prioritize in the morning. And I mean, it works out for my wife and I. She's not a morning person where I am, so it kind of helps. But on the weekends, I try to, obviously I ride in the morning as well, but I know the expectation in the afternoon is to take the kids and support that way. So I think Todd's very similar in that way, but just try to find a balance, right? I mean, I think the mornings, to me, the earlier we go, the better, just because I get more of that time. But I just know that if I don't ride in the morning, I don't get a ride the rest of the day. So I try to prioritize my time in the morning to have some me time. And
Yeah.
luckily we have a group that rides at 5 a.m., which is great. So
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, very, very. I second what Jake says. It's prioritizing. Alicia's friends have asked her, like, why do you let Todd ride his bike so much, or how do you let him ride his bike? It's like, well, he's back home before like we're even out of bed or the kids are out of bed, right? So it is that morning time. We've all tried before COVID. It was kind of nice to ride in the afternoon, sneak away from the office and get an afternoon ride. Now it's like it's more work than it's worth for me. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't like to ride in the afternoon as much as I used to. And if I do, it's like, well, I'm going to block 2 hours out and then I'm going to maybe have to work late at night to make up for it, right? But that's the alternative to not waking up in the morning. It is so much easier to drag yourself out of bed, even if you've only gotten 2 hours of sleep. That's at least I see that. I can do that once or twice a week. It does start to drag on you, but a shout out to Jason Cook. I remember talking to him and he's like, have you ever regretted a ride? Have you ever gotten home from a ride and regretted it?
It's true.
Is that very, even if it was rainy, it's like you just feel so good. Your day's started, your blood's flowing, right? So I think morning is key. And for me with Saturdays, I don't have kids in sports yet, and I'm not sure if I ever want them in sports because the horror stories, but well, that's for another day. We'll see. But for me, like Saturdays are always open for me. I can always ride till noon or whatever. But it's the expectation. I'm gonna get home and load up the kids and take them up to my parents' house, right? And then Alicia can have the whole day to herself to do whatever she needs or whatever she wants, right? So that's how for me I can go out and not feel that guilt that I need to be home or that I'm taking advantage of a situation. And then it's I can have those 4 or 5 hours to not worry. It really just comes back to give and take, right? And again, if the kids aren't out of bed, or when the kids are out of bed, you guys probably see that on my Strava and wonder what the story is there. I always post a ride, and then there's always a picture with my kids, right? Every day I come around the corner and Scout's waiting for me in the street. Alicia will follow me on Strava to see where I'm at or on Find Me, and Scout's there to wait. She's there to race me home, right? And I have all these pictures, of her growing up doing that. So I think we'll keep doing that until she gets sick of it with all the kids. But with the kids, I kind of try to make it fun. Like Fridays before like a big ride, I wash my bike, right? Friday evenings, we're outside in the backyard and I wash my bike and the kids will help me. And you try to get your kids involved. You want them to share your same passions, right? And this Scout always makes comments like, Dad, you ride your bike so much. Or I'll get home and she's like, oh, you smell like the road, whatever that smells like. I don't sweat, to her, right? It's the road, right? And I think in general, make it a positive experience, right? I don't want my kids to resent me because Dad missed their science fair because I was out riding my bike, right? And it's include them wherever, but like I said earlier, if you don't get a ride for whatever it is, it's one day, right? It's one day that
it's fine,
right? So
it's gonna work out.
There's better priorities. So
nice. Hey, well, last question, and maybe this is for both of you. You've been around a lot of cyclists, a lot of dudes in this sport. You can quantify success in a lot of ways. So you can say, well, he's success because he's a winner. He's success because he's balanced. He's successful or she's successful because they do a lot of events. But I'd be interested to know when you guys look at your own personal endeavors in cycling, what is it that you would say, oh, I'm doing this and I'm happy about it. That makes me successful. Is it devotion to the sport? Is it improving times? Is it just overall feeling of camaraderie and health? So maybe, what do you think? What is it do you think makes a person or you successful at this? Jake, you want to go first?
Sure. I think what makes me successful in cycling, at least just in general, is just the people that I'm surround myself with. I think if I was riding by myself, I probably wouldn't have as much success as I would have riding with this group of people. I really, I mean, I used to ride by myself all the time pre meet Duole, pre moving to Holiday, and it was fun. It was great, but you know, it's all about relationships for me, memories and experiences. And I've had more memories, created more relationships, had more experiences with this group of people, meaning Duele, I mean, than anything. And so I think that's what makes me successful is I know when I'm going to show up at that stop sign at 525 that I'm going to have a better relationship with people I show up with, more experiences, and a great conversation. So
if you're building that, then successful.
100%. So
that's cool.
I feel like if I'm building these relationships, I show up to rides to build relationships, to find to get to know the people, and to, because I know that if I know about them, myself is improving at the same time. So
that's cool. Nice. How about you, Todd? Nice.
Yeah, I definitely share that same sentiment. You know, the I think a lot of people have been therapists. We've all been people's therapists on the bike. You know, it's invest in a bike. It's cheaper than the alternative. You think of the conversations we have, the stories that are shared. You know, you really do talk about so many different things. You know, and whether it's just shooting the bull or, you know, whether it's work related, family. Hey, what about your kids? How do you guys do this? I got a 4-year-old that's going through this. You know, maybe in 10 years we'll be talking about terrified when they're going on out with their friends in their cars, right? Who knows? We'll cross that bridge later. But I think it is, you know, I still enjoy going out every day with the group, with the people I ride with. And I think with that comes success in other ways, right? Again, people ask, well, how do you train for loadage? It's like, well, I go out and ride with my friends, right? But it's still fun, right? I am riding my bike and it doesn't feel like it's an effort. And we've all been there, right? We're getting out on your bike some mornings, it's just not worth it. It's like, I'm not going to ride, and that's okay. When that comes every day, because again, you're doing it for whatever you're doing it for, I think that's you start going backwards. So
yeah.
What about you, Stu?
Yeah, success. You know, it's a little different as I'm constantly managing kind of the feelings and emotions of a lot of people on the team. So that always kind of plays into an effect, which is today was successful because a lot of people came, were engaged. It was a great ride. We rode hard, but we also, you know, whatever, Little Cottonwood, it was tough. So it was a good training ride. I mean, so that's kind of always in play, which is something I love. I mean, that makes the effort and the experience of this successful. I also think that my life sometimes is super cushy. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes my life is super cushy. And so successfulness on this experience is sometimes how much punishment I can dish out on my own body. And I love that. Like I love coming home from Little Cottonwood and having suffered, stuck with it, you know, like dang, new fastest, whatever. I didn't give up when I really wanted to, flat at Lodija, and I persevered. So sometimes that is a key to success for me, is like this experience offers an opportunity to prove to myself that I'm like that I'm not soft, you know, that I'm determined, that I'm devoted, that I'm willing to go hard, you know, all those things. I really love that like part of this sport. And I feel success from that is, dude, like 3 towers. Yeah, it's hard. And let's choose it because it is hard. Like, let's go there because that is a successful day. It's like, dude, we did the hard thing, you know? And sometimes, yeah, we do like you got to mix in, like we do softy and me. That's fun, whatever. But I really love this sport because of that successful nature. Is we push ourselves, and then I come home and I'm like, I'm not going to be effective at work for the first couple hours because I'm literally sitting here glassy eyed. Like,
falling asleep at the desk a few times. Well, let me ask this: when you guys get to the mouth of Immigration or Big Con, when you're by yourself, how often do you guys say, "I'm going to try to beat my PR"?
Oh yeah, I do it.
Do you do that every time, or
I do. Yeah,
most of the time.
okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
But then I
That's
start
how,
the first 5 minutes and then I just die.
well, you're gonna know pretty quick. For me, it's like
You
every time
are.
I do big cotton, it's like I tell Alicia, I'm like, I'm gonna go meet my PR.
Oh
I'm gonna
my
meet my
God.
PR. And that I called you that day. I did. I accidentally called you guys on FaceTime.
That was
I
so
called
funny.
our like little
A
group,
group chat.
and I was like, Stu, I can't talk right now. What's going on? He's like, you called me. I'm like, oh, whatever. And Harmon text. I saw a text come across, and Harmon's like, don't come home unless you PR.
So funny.
Because he could see my location, and that in and of itself just like
Yep.
the push, because I was fading, and again the headwind was kicking in. Actually, it was a tailwind, a little bit of tailwind, and you just got that little push from Harmon, and it was lights out. So yeah, because that's how you get to the mouth, and you're like, I would love to beat my PR.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's success. Again, you're always. I really wonder what cycling would be like without Strava, and it's not so much. I don't compare myself to other people in Strava because it's like I don't hold a candle to this person. We're just two different people, right? I take it all with a grain of salt. For me, it's comparing to myself, right? That improvement in Strava just makes it so much easier to see that, and I think that's success in and of itself too.
Nice. All right, boys. Great chat. That was fun.
Awesome.
Thanks, Todd. A lot of great stuff ahead of us this year. Can't wait to see. Man, we're in the same group this year at Lotija, so that'll be a fun new change. And
very good.
Anyway, all right, boys. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you both.
Love you both.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good one.
Good. See ya.